Do you pride yourself on being extremely independent? Are you the one everyone calls reliable, the person who never asks for anything in return? You've built your life on the foundation of your own strength, a fortress of being self-sufficient. It feels good, powerful even, to know you can handle anything that comes your way, completely on your own. But what if that strength is not a preference, but a scar? What if the fortress you built was not to keep the world out, but to cage a deeply seated belief that you are fundamentally on your own? There are certain habits, behaviors we see as normal or even admirable that are actually the quiet echoes of childhood neglect. These are not loud, dramatic signs, but subtle patterns woven into the fabric of our daily lives. Today, we're going to uncover 4 of these hidden signs. And the psychology behind them is not just fascinating, it is liberating. You might go into this video thinking you are just a very independent person, but you might leave understanding yourself in a way you never thought possible. So the real question is, how many of these 4 hidden signs will you recognize in yourself? I have a feeling the last one might be the most surprising. Let's find out together. In this video, we're diving deep into a topic that is profoundly misunderstood: childhood emotional neglect. This is not about the absence of food or shelter, but the absence of something much harder to see: emotional validation and response. It is the empty space where a parent's attunement should have been. Using insights from psychology, we will explore how that emptiness can shape adult behaviors in ways that we often mistake for simple personality traits. We will be looking at 4 specific habits that seem completely normal on the surface, but have deep roots in this experience. Now, before we go any further, it is incredibly important for me to say this clearly. This video is for educational purposes and is intended to help you build self-awareness. It is not a substitute for a professional diagnosis or therapy. If anything we discuss today resonates deeply, I gently encourage you to consider speaking with a mental health professional. They can provide a safe space to explore these feelings further. My promise to you in this video is not just to identify these habits, but to help you understand them with compassion. This is not about finding more things to criticize about yourself. It is about finally getting the instruction manual to your own heart. But this is not just about identifying problems. For each sign, I'm going to give you one small practical step you can take. So make sure you watch until the end to get the complete toolkit for moving forward. So let's get into our first sign, and it is a deceptive one because modern society often praises it as a virtue. This is the habit of extreme self-reliance, the inability to ask for help. Does this sound familiar to you? Someone at work offers to take a small task off your plate, and you immediately say, "No thanks, I've got it." A friend sees you are struggling to carry groceries and offers a hand, and a wave of discomfort washes over you as you politely refuse. On the surface, it looks like competence and strength. But psychologically, this is not about a love for independence. It is about a deeply held belief that dependency is unsafe. When a child's needs for comfort, guidance, or help are consistently ignored or met with irritation, they learn a powerful lesson. They learn that having needs is a burden to others. They learn that the only person they can truly rely on is themselves. So the brain, in its brilliant attempt to protect you, builds a system of radical self-sufficiency. It automates the response. This system is not a choice. It is a survival strategy that has outlived its usefulness. If this is you, I want you to hear this loud and clear. You did not learn to be independent. You learned that dependency was dangerous. Your inability to ask for help is not a character flaw. It is a scar from battles you had to fight alone when you were too young to even understand the war. This fierce independence was a brilliant adaptation that got you through. But now it might be the very thing keeping you from the connection you crave. The wiring is so deep that asking for a pen can feel as vulnerable as asking for a kidney. So, what do we do about this? We start with a microdose of receiving. Here is your first step forward. The next time someone offers you simple, low-stakes help, like holding a door, letting you merge in traffic, or carrying a bag, your only task is to pause. Take a breath, and instead of "no thank you," say "thank you" and let them. That is it. That is the entire task. You do not have to feel good about it. You do not have to like it. You just have to observe the feeling, whether it is discomfort, guilt, or even panic. By doing this, you are sending a tiny but powerful new signal to your nervous system. You are teaching it that maybe, just maybe, receiving is not a catastrophe. Okay, so that is the fortress of self-reliance. Now, the second sign is less about how you act with others and more about how you act with yourself when faced with a new task or goal. This is the habit of researching too much and hoarding knowledge before starting anything. Have you ever decided you want to start a new hobby? Let's say gardening. But instead of buying a single plant, you spend 3 weeks watching 50 hours of YouTube videos about soil pH. You read reviews for every brand of trowel, you create a spreadsheet comparing fertilizer types, and you join 6 online forums. Weeks turn into months, and your garden still consists of a browser full of open tabs and 0 actual dirt. This is often mislabeled as perfectionism or procrastination. But the psychological root is a desperate search for certainty in a world that once felt dangerously uncertain. If, as a child, you were not given guidance, if there was no one to ask, "How do I do this?" you had to figure it all out alone. Worse, if mistakes were met with anger, disappointment, or punishment, your brain learned a critical rule: mistakes are dangerous. Doing something wrong was not a learning opportunity, it was a threat to your emotional or physical safety. So now, as an adult, your nervous system equates the unknown with danger. Researching feels safe. It feels like you are creating the manual that nobody ever gave you. You are trying to build a perfect plan to eliminate any possibility of failure, because in your past, failure had a very high cost. You are not a perfectionist. You are trying to create the safety and certainty you never had. This endless preparation is not a failure of discipline. It is a profound attempt to parent yourself. You are trying to give yourself the roadmap, the support, and the foolproof plan that you desperately needed as a child. It is not a character flaw. It is a testament to how badly you want to get things right, because getting them wrong once felt so awful. The irony, of course, is that the strategy designed to keep you safe is the very thing keeping you stuck. So, how do we gently challenge this pattern? We have to practice imperfect action. Here's your first step. The next time you want to start a small project, anything from trying a new recipe to tidying a closet, I want you to set a timer. Give yourself a 15-minute time limit for all research and preparation. 15 minutes? That is it? When that timer goes off, you must take the first physical step, no matter how small or wrong it feels. Put the pot on the stove, pull one box out of the closet, buy the single plant. The goal is not to get a perfect outcome. The goal is to teach your nervous system that you can survive the uncertainty of in progress. You are building tolerance for good enough, and that is a revolutionary act for a nervous system wired for perfection. I know this is heavy stuff. Let's just pause for a second and take a breath. The very fact that you are here, engaging with these ideas, shows a profound desire for growth and self-understanding. If this is the kind of journey you are on, consider subscribing. We explore these topics to build a life not just of surviving, but of thriving. All right, let's move on to our third sign, which tackles the confusing world of our social energy. Do you find yourself with a surprisingly low social battery and then feel guilty about it? You genuinely love your friends, but the thought of a 2-hour brunch fills you with a sense of preemptive exhaustion. You have a great time for the first 45 minutes, but then you feel a switch flip. Suddenly, you are just monitoring, smiling, and nodding, while the only thing you can think about is the sweet relief of being home alone. This is often mistaken for introversion, and while introverts do get energy from solitude, this is different. This is a bone-deep exhaustion that feels more like a system crash. So what is the psychological link to neglect? For a child experiencing emotional neglect, social interaction is not restful or reciprocal. It is work. They learn that to get their basic needs for attention or affection met, they have to constantly monitor their caregiver's mood. They have to perform a certain way, be the easy child, the funny child, the invisible child, just to maintain a fragile sense of peace. This is an incredibly high-effort task for a developing brain. They are essentially working a high-stakes customer service job, where the customer is unpredictable and the pay is a fleeting moment of attention that is not negative. So this gets wired in. As an adult, your nervous system still treats many social interactions as a performance to be managed, rather than an exchange to be enjoyed. You are subconsciously scanning, monitoring, and adapting, which burns an incredible amount of cognitive fuel. So hear me on this. You are not antisocial. Your system is exhausted from a lifetime of treating relationships like a job interview. The guilt you feel about wanting to leave is a misplaced sense of social duty you were programmed with. It is not a reflection of how much you care about people. It is a reflection of how much energy it has taken you to simply exist in relationships for your entire life. How do we begin to recharge this battery? We learn to honor our own energy levels without judgment. Here is your first step forward, and it is an act of radical self-care. The next time you are at a social event, I am giving you permission to leave the moment you feel drained. Not an hour later, not after you have said goodbye to every single person. The moment you feel that internal switch flip, that is your cue. It was so great seeing you all. I have to get going. You do not need a detailed excuse or a dramatic apology. Your need for rest is reason enough. This practice teaches your inner child that their needs are valid and that you, the adult, will honor them. It's how you start to convince your nervous system that social connection can be a source of energy, not just a drain. We have talked about self-reliance, research paralysis, and social exhaustion. Now we arrive at our fourth and final sign, and this one is about how you relate to your own success. This is the habit of difficulty recognizing or celebrating your personal achievements. Have you ever gotten a promotion at work and your first thought was not excitement, but a surge of panic that now they will find out you are a fraud? Someone gives you a genuine compliment on something you did well, and you immediately deflect it, minimize it, or give credit to someone else. It is as if there is an invisible wall between you and any feeling of pride or accomplishment. You hit a goal, and instead of celebrating, you just move the goalpost further away. This is not humility. It is a phenomenon called achievement dismissal, and its roots often lie in what did not happen in childhood. When a child brings home a good grade or a piece of art and it is met with indifference, criticism, or a distracted, "That's nice, dear," a belief is formed. The belief is, my accomplishments are not important. They have no intrinsic value. They only matter if they can earn the attention of a distracted caregiver. Worse, if your success made a parent feel insecure or competitive, you might have learned that shining was dangerous. So you learned to dim your own light to keep the peace. As an adult, you have no internal framework for what success feels like. Praise from others feels confusing or dishonest because you have no internal shelf to put it on. It is like someone handing you a trophy, but your hands are conditioned to believe it is made of smoke. This is perhaps the most heartbreaking part of emotional neglect. It robs you of the joy you have rightfully earned.
So I want to reframe this for you, because this is so important.
You do not feel like an imposter because you are one. You feel like one because you were never taught how to be the protagonist of your own story. You were cast as a supporting character in someone else's drama. Your inability to celebrate yourself is not a sign of your inadequacy. It is a sign of a profound lack of celebration you endured. So how do we start to build that internal shelf for our trophies?
We have to practice in very small ways the act of acknowledging yourself.
Here's your first step. Tonight, before you go to sleep, I want you to get a piece of paper or a cheap journal. On it, write down one small thing you did well today. It can be as simple as, I made a good cup of coffee, or I was patient in traffic, or I finished one email. And here is the crucial rule. You are not allowed to add a but at the end. No, I made good coffee, but the kitchen is still a mess. Just the simple, unadorned acknowledgement. This tiny act is the first brick in building that internal shelf. It is how you begin to be the protagonist who notices their own small victories. So what do we do with all this information? We have looked at 4 habits, and for each one, we have identified a small first step.
Let's look at the pattern here.
For extreme self-reliance, we practiced receiving by saying thank you and just observing. For researching too much, we set a boundary with a timer and took one small action. For social exhaustion, we honored our energy and gave ourselves permission to leave. For achievement dismissal, we wrote down one small success without criticism. Do you see the beautiful logic? It is observe, set a boundary, and act small. This is not about a massive overhaul of your personality. It is about self-compassion, not self-criticism. Each of these first steps is a gentle experiment in giving yourself what you did not receive. It is a process of reparenting yourself, not with grand gestures, but with consistent, quiet acts of kindness and attention. This work is powerful, but it can also be challenging. That is why, as I said in the beginning, unpacking these issues with a therapist can be one of the greatest gifts you give yourself. You do not have to do this final, deeper healing alone. In fact, learning not to is the entire point. We began this journey by questioning things we thought were normal about ourselves. We looked at the armor we built and mistook for our skin. We saw how extreme independence, analysis paralysis, social burnout, and achievement dismissal are not random quirks. They are logical, intelligent responses to a childhood environment that lacked emotional support. So that extreme independence we talked about at the start, it is not just a personality trait. It is a testament to your survival. It is the evidence of your strength, not the definition of your future. If you leave with only one thought today, let it be this: these habits are not who you are. They are simply the map of where you have been.
And you get to draw the map of where you are going next.
Your greatest strength today was born from your greatest wound yesterday. Healing from neglect is not about erasing the past. It is about learning to finally answer the needs that went unanswered. Thank you for sharing your time and your vulnerability with me today. It takes courage to look at these parts of ourselves. Remember, this journey is a marathon, not a sprint. And if you want to keep taking steps on that journey with us, to keep understanding yourself better, make sure to subscribe and join our community. We would be honored to have you. And if you are ready for the next step, I have picked out another video for you that explores these themes even further. You can click that on the screen now. Until next time, be kind to yourself.